Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're looking at the 3 things that God needs from us, and what we can gather from Micah chapter 6 verse 8. That verse says, "He has shewed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." So, let's go through these 3 requirements one by one. 1, we should do justly. This is simply that we must abide by God's laws no matter the circumstance, and embody the laws and principles of God, as Jesus Christ told us to do in John chapter 14 verse 15. Even when we're in a tough spot financially or emotionally, we won't stray from God's laws. This means, for example, that if we're struggling for money financially to buy food to eat, we won't try out OnlyFans or any other type of prostitution, or resort to stealing and exploitation for money. We'll also not use bribery to get our way for rich, or collect bribes from corrupt people. We will have integrity in all situations, like Job had, which God attested to in Job chapter 2 verse 3. In fact, Job is a perfect example of how we should do justly. He went through worse than most people ever will, and he never sinned throughout the entire experience. He's just a great role model in general. But now the second thing that God requires from us is to show mercy. Everyone stumbles at some point in their lives, and if that includes someone doing wrong towards us, we should be merciful. Some are poor and borrow from us, but end up not being able to pay back their loans. There's no need to take revenge, insult, or slander them, but forgive them if they're truly sorry, as Jesus Christ advised in Matthew chapter 18 verses 21 to 35. We should generally treat people with kindness, bringing honor and reverence to God's name, instead of tarnishing the view of Christianity with unforgiving actions. As Jesus also said in Luke chapter 7 verses 41 to 43, when we help those instead of putting them down, they'll love you, and also your God when you tie back while you're loving them back to Jehovah. This also includes treating the poor and those less fortunate as fellow human beings, instead of as second-class citizens. And that third and final thing is that we should embody humility. We can't be taught and guided by God as sheep if our ego is enormous. God guides the meek, as Psalm 25 verse 9 says, and he does so through his word, and us meditating on it throughout the day. If we believe we know best, that life is just about making us happy, following our dreams, and being our own boss, then God can't guide us anywhere. Let's consider David, for example, who in 1 Samuel chapter 23 verses 6 to 13 consulted God before making any decision on what he should do. And then there's Jesus Christ, who let his entire life be guided and made God's will his will, as he said himself in John chapter 5 verse 30. "I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which has sent me." We can see how much God loved these individuals and blessed them for their humility and love of God, and we can also be favored by God if we do the same. But why is it these 3 things specifically that God requires, and not anything else? Like, why were these things mentioned? Well, all good deeds and the ability to continue carrying out these deeds fall under being righteous, humble, and merciful. And 2, God had to point these things out because they're often missing from society. From childhood to adulthood, all we hear is that we should follow our dreams, focus on ourselves, worry about ourselves, and not about God. Or, in some cases, they might talk about our fellow man. And the elite in our society, and anyone with power, rarely ever care for the poor, or even regular class citizens, and very frequently exploit them for their own gain. And we all know about the corruption and backstabbing that runs rampant from friends to world leaders. God wants us to be different, which is why Micah chapter 6 verse 8 is there, which is drawing our attention to important virtues that we must emulate to be righteous. Virtues that are often left behind in favor of other pursuits. And that concludes my answer on the 3 things that God wants from us, as was stated in Micah chapter 6 verse 8. If you enjoyed this video and you want to support my channel, then you can hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and have a very awesome day.